Hey everybody, and welcome back to Episode Club. Today we're going to be talking about Carnival Row, Season 1, Episode 5, Grieve No More, and Episode 6, Unaccompanied Faith. And joining me today is my Carnival Row co-host, Johnny B. Crazy. How are you doing today?
I'm doing all right. I'm not kneeling. That's what I'm not doing. But other than that, having a pretty good evening. Thank you for having me on, Southside. This is when Carnival Row starts to get really, really good. The mysteries start to unravel, and we got episode 5 and 6 here, and a lively chat. And I can see the chat, and I see that Bravosi broadcast is here, and Peter Griffin, and Danny McKay, Fingered Guns, Giggity, and Chicken Wings. That's what's up. Now, I will say this, I won't be able to type in the chat, but hopefully I can see it for a while. So, appreciate you guys coming here. This is a really good show. I think it's going to be lots of fun to talk about in the future as well. We know we're getting a second season, so let's do it.
Yes.
I hope my sound is good too. I'm coming from my phone because I'm in the North Pole visiting Santa Claus.
Yeah, in the north, But yes, thank you everybody so far for joining us. And yeah, this series does ramp up these last about 4 episodes. And if you're kind of confused, we did kind of talk about some of the events of episode 5 and last week, but it's kind of hard with the streaming series, so forgive us. But also, Steve York is in the chat, and Johnny, if you want to say hi to Steve, because he says, thou shalt never kneel. So.
Yes, that's the one commandment of Geek Folk 1. Thou shalt never kneel. Commandment number 2 is aspire to be a meme lord at all times. I'm actually failing in that point in life, and for that I am a sinner. But it's okay, because Steve gets to punish me. Go check out Geek Folk 1 and the YouTube channel, which doesn't have content on it, but there may be some trash on there shortly. Also, who knows? Something may be popping up here pretty soon. No pressure. All right. Anyways, back to Carnival Row. No fairies had sex in these episodes, but other than that,
yeah,
it's pretty good. The dog didn't die, like you said before the stream.
No.
We kind of do find out about the molefish first. Sorry, go ahead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you get the hashtag, as we called it before, the semen golem shows back up in this, and the witch sort of tells Philo that as long as he lives, it will live, no matter how many times it gets cut up. Sorry, which that's gotta be crazy, and that kind of leads us down to other plot lines in later episodes, which we won't spoil you for that, even though we kind of did with some of the elements of this episode. But yeah, we get the witch back, and she's creepy as always. And
she's just a good person. She's just misunderstood. I don't know why everybody thinks she's so creepy. I mean, she was hot enough to get a quart of Philo's semen, hashtag semen golem, and it takes a little bit of something. She has some kind of magical aura about her, and this catfish, twangy pang, molefish thing that's got going on. Look, this is a heavy dose of foreshadowing when it says put it out of its misery. You can only die when you die. We'll put it in a jar. All right, well, she's dead. The thing is going ahead and mutating in the jar. Like I said, it's going to swim around in the river and impregnate catfish. Like, this is going to be a Frankenfish situation, and then what if it comes in contact with a dead body? Can they absorb dead bodies? Will it get any bigger? These are all questions that I think will be answered at some point, but there's going to be consequences for him making that. And he did it just to see if it was possible. What an idiot.
Yeah. It's like, now technically, his special stuff is now inside of this golem or the semen golem, even before he had any actual real children. So his first child is a cut up catfish mouse situation, so it's quite interesting. But we also have Dark Mother who's joining us in the chat. Hope you're having a good day, Dark Mother. But yeah, then we also kind of get the play with the kobolds or kobolds who get taken away for what we will come to know as because they don't have papers, and then they eventually get deported, or deported, because they're not supposed to be in the Berg. So, what you kind of think about the whole play? And
well, I mean, every creature, whether alien or fae, which I find an interesting line, must have papers. Now, you're talking about illegal aliens? I don't know. We haven't really seen any humans trying to sneak into the Berg. Has anybody noticed that? No, I haven't. So this alien line, maybe it could be a red herring, but like I said in the Fandom 3 podcast, there's another creature that's in this lore, that's in this world, that we don't know anything about yet. It's called the Naga. And it's a Japanese mythology. Equates to what the great salamander is. That's what they think the Naga really is. But stands on two legs. It pulls wary victims into the stream and drowns them. Like grabs them out of the stream and shit like that. So we'll get to see that. Maybe some type of reptilian being. I don't know. I mean, the fantasy is so high here. I don't think it would be out of the realm of possibility to see something like that and them to be able to pull it off. It's such a dark and realistic world. The situations aren't froofy, so to speak. They're realistic, and there's nothing too much fun about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they're. It's one of those situations where it's just like, yeah, they're probably gonna come back at some point. It's just they gotta make it sad for now, which is kind of not fun. But it was kind of weird rewatching this because it's like in some way they're kind of like we talked about, I think, on the podcast or in the first one, that they kind of look like gremlins, but they're like at least sweeter than gremlins, which is kind of interesting.
And they got the armor on their back like little roly-polies. The kobolds are really cool, though. They seem to be a lot smarter than they're letting on. Now, Runyon still uses them almost like little slaves, but I guess he treats them somewhat fairly. You can tell that he loves them. They're going to come back into play somehow. His attachment to them. I don't think that ship has necessarily left yet.
No.
Or if it did leave, it's going to be brought back to harbor. But we'll talk about that. That happens later on.
Yeah, there's some interesting comments in the chat which I think will make you laugh, Johnny. Peter Griffin says, "I'm sure that the Maker is a quote-unquote good guy. Gollum should inherit that trait." I don't know if you're talking about Philo's character or the quote-unquote creepy.
I tell you this, it may corrupt the user, seeing what happens to Piety Breakspear's character. I'm getting ahead of myself, but it may corrupt the user. We don't necessarily know. There are consequences. It's, I would say blood magic, but it's semen magic. So this is a new thing. I'm sure it may even pull from ancient sexual rituals, which, fertility rituals that very common in pagan, different pagan religions. So that might be worth looking into.
And
it's a weird topic to look into. Clear your search history and all that shit. But
go into incognito and clear your search history.
There could be something there.
And Bravosi Broadcast says, "The poor little kobolds." Yes, the poor little kobolds. Peter Griffin. Also, Peter Griffin says that I hope that Stephen Gollum will come through and be a hero in seasons to come. Giggity.
Okay, Seaman Gollum. I agree with you, Peter Griffin. Seaman Gollum is going to come out of nowhere and save Philo's life. Right? That's just what's going to happen. And a jar is not going to contain it. And we don't know what that crazy witch did with it. She probably just flushed it down the toilet. Hashtag semen golem turds. I don't know what's happening. Sorry for smutting up your live stream.
No, it's fine. It probably if they had toilets, it would have been flushed, but I'll put outside or whatever. But don't worry. And then we get the whole Parliament situation with Sophie Longerbane, and basically now she's the interim leader of the opposition.
But right before that, we get the breakfast, don't we? Aren't the Breakspear breakfast?
No, that comes later.
That's after? Son of a bitch. Okay, sorry. Go ahead, it's your show.
That comes later. And, and she's the leader of the opposition for now until there is another, election or a vote. And Jonah kind of sees her from, down below. I guess because he's on like a upper level, so there. And I can't remember the guy's name who introduced him, but that never goes anywhere anyway. He's like, oh yeah, Sophie Longerbane or whatever, and Jonah's kind of smitten with her, which, if you know the end of this season, that's a little bit crazy. And the Chancellor, and she gives this sort of speech about how that the Critch and all of these other creatures shouldn't be treated as like normal, that they shouldn't have as much rights as they are because the treatment that they're kind of getting, which is like raising children like human children and being house caretakers and all of this stuff. And she's kind of basically leading the idea of oppression, while the Chancellor is kind of trying to raise their stations up.
I mean, we can go ahead and talk about this too, just kind of mash all these scenes together, because she doesn't even believe that. She just has this plan for power, and like Bravasti Broadcast says here, Sophie equals Littlefinger, and we have talked about this before. I completely agree she is the Littlefinger of this, and I would say that Piety Breakspear is just, a more heightened and smarter version of Ilaria Sand in Carnival Row, I'm not gonna lie. She did a lot better job in here too. Yes. And like, as far as Sophie Longerbane, she's fucking smart, playing that Game of Thrones, and it's kind of refreshing to see. Her dad treated her like shit, apparently. Had held contempt for her mom, which now, you know why if you've seen the rest of the series. And she's had nothing to do but read and plan, so she probably just read a lot of Sherlock Holmes, or what do they call him in that world? Sherlock Bones? I don't know.
I guess.
Who knows? Okay.
Yeah.
But she has this big, vast plan, and it's really interesting to see her. And, is this the episode where they have fun in the...
No, it's episode 7. So
okay,
it's next week.
We'll talk about that later then. Anyways, she just, it's very, very interesting. I like how they develop these characters. The problem with the show, and the only problem I would say I have with it, it's really slow in the first half, and it can lose some people if you're not kind of into the world. But it really picks up good here. They develop the characters very well.
Yeah, if you're driven by storyline, the first 4 episodes are a trudge to kind of get through, especially like we talked about last week. Episode 3, it's just kind of it's like a harder episode to be invested in, unless you are very much a romance type person, and Philo and Vignette's relationship is your thing that's sticking with you.
I watch Cinemax for romance.
Oh my god. And I think I actually got that wrong. I think there is the breakfast before, because I was thinking of the other breakfast that happens in episode 6. so we can talk about that breakfast if you want.
Second breakfast?
There's like a second one, or a meal that they have in the sixth
What about
episode.
11's?
What?
I'm just starting to talk about Hobbit meals of the day. I'm sorry.
But the breakfast that they have at the house before the general meeting or like anything, you hear Piety breaks through walking, and that clicks with Jonah's head about the hearing footsteps. But it's not until I think the later episode where he realizes where they come from. And if you guys haven't watched this show, basically know that Indira Varma, who played Alaria Sand, is in this show, and she's basically like Alaria Sand, but written much better. So if you want to watch like the Dorn plotline, play it without sand snakes and
with
just
good
Alaria.
with good writing, the Dawn plotline, with good writing. Yeah, there you go. Sorry.
That's basically what it is. It's like you just do the Torn plotline just with better writing, almost. It is quite interesting. And they kind of just talk about Sophie Longerbane and the Longerbane family, which becomes suspicious. But yeah, we have that. Which kind of that kind of whole sequence kind of bleeds into the other episode. But we also have Tourmaline and Vignette, and basically Vignette's staying there at the brothel, or Pig's brothel, wherever they specifically call it in the show. And the madam is just like, how long is she staying here? And I'm just like, just for a little while, because she doesn't want business to be interrupted.
Cash, grass, or ass. That's cash, grass, or ass. That's what you gotta do, or else you get kicked out of the brothel. You know what I mean? It's just like getting, a hitchhike ride back in the days of the serial killers. Back when people used to hitchhike from Canada to Mexico, and they'd love doing it. It was like some kind of adventure. You go back and think about that. What kind, like, hey, let's go get in strange cars with people, because that's kind
I
of
don't
what you
know.
had to do sometimes, man. You didn't have the phone back then. It was just a landline. If somebody didn't want you talking to them, it was pretty easy. Anyway,
And you could easily go more off the grid, but anyway.
I'm going way off topic, and I do apologize about that. Go ahead.
No, don't worry. And this then, yeah, the whole Vignette, because Vignette is still involved with the Black Ravens, which which would have been a way interesting more name for brands like band, the Black Ravens, and she's still dealing with that. That's kind of a quick scene, and then we have, which we talked about last week, thinking it was last week's episode, but it's this week's episode, and it's Philo with the headmaster, which is also pre if you watch Game of Thrones. And that whole sequence is quite interesting, because then Philo goes through kind of also a couple flashbacks in these two episodes to his childhood, and basically his life as a little kid and what happened to him. And
He was a sad little bastard, wasn't
he? Yeah.
Now, is this the episode with the flashback? We've already had the flashback of him doing that, right? Like the little baby wings. Was that this episode?
This comes with this episode because of the doctor.
That's a tough scene, right? And everything that Philo's just having to deal with, you see why he's kind of the way he is, and why he's the protector of the downtrodden. He doesn't have a place in this world. At least that's how he feels, and a lot of us, and all of us, most of us can relate to that. I think it's kind of a beautifully tragic thing that is life. And getting all philosophical here, but he even knows how to work the priest or Master Thorn, which we haven't really talked about this, but the martyr, who's a person who was hanged, I guess it's kind of a mirror to Christianity. It seems like the same kind of symbolism, just a different modus operandi of murder or of martyrdom. I don't know where these big words are coming from tonight, but Philo is really just kind of slowly coming into his own, and this is when you start to realize the connection, if you haven't already, between him and Aisling. And what a great name too, by the way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wonder where they came up with that name for the
Oh,
character.
it's a traditionally Irish name, I think. Y'all help me out in the chat.
I think so. Yeah, but I wonder why they chose it. Yeah, because
I need to look it up, but it has a meaning. I'm pretty sure it has a meaning, but I don't have access to the internet right now. Y'all let me know what's the meaning of Aisling.
Yeah. And in this also, Philo goes to the brothel, and he meets with a character who is romantically involved in a victim from the last episode. And because Philo suspects that it was two women that were his special super secret ladies, but it was actually the doctor who was the person that he was visiting. And this is what leads to kind of the more or less the end of the episode, where Philo remembers about his wings being cut as a baby, because if you don't know, Philo is a half-breed. He's half human, half fae, so he got wings as a little baba. And yeah, he gets his wing cut, and this is also when he wakes up in the bed with Mrs. Fry. After a rendezvous.
Oh, Portia, huh? Like, and let me go back just a little bit to
the Aisling thing.
And this is the homosexuality is kind of portrayed for the first time, at least man on man. You have Tourmaline and which I'm really excited to get into in season 2. What the hell is going to happen between Tourmaline and Vignette? Because they have an old love, even older than her and Philo. They have a longer history, and I feel like Tourmaline's life's going to be in jeopardy, and that's going to make Vignette rethink her entire life, really, and just probably want to get back with her. You got this classic, it's a classic love triangle with a twist. But with this scene, you see how relationships like that are viewed in this world, even though this is an alternate reality. Now, it doesn't seem like we haven't seen the persecution of that yet, but we've seen what the doctor had to go through to hide it. So I don't know. I thought that was pretty good touch. It wasn't too overt, but it was also, this is real problems you have in the world. But it's I don't know. I thought it was a nice touch, but the damn baby wings. So I saw the baby wings.
Yeah, the little baby wings. Because this is, like you said, the first time that they've, like, a gay relationship really has been put front and center, compared to the more lesbian relationship between Vignette and Tourmaline, because that kind of floats in, that storyline kind of floats in and floats out. And when Philo's remembering all of this with Mrs. Fry, I can never remember her first name.
Portia.
Portia.
It's really like hookery. It's easy to remember. I'm just kidding. Like every stripper is named Portia. Sorry.
And so they have, like, moment, and he kind of doesn't tell her yet. That comes in the next episode. But it's the thing of like, can you like leave the room, which is technically like my room, or whatever. And you can kind of see the descent of that relationship, which is sad, but also at the same time it's just like because it moves the plotline forward for Vignette and Philo to come back together. But we jumped ahead with we can finish Philo, and it's basically that the Dr. Morang, is killed off screen by a quote unquote evil being. It comes later what the actual, is it called the Dark Asher now?
The Dark Asher.
Yeah. The Dark Asher. And what got me for like, because I forgot this happened in this episode, what got me is that the doctor had this white fluffy little dog named Giddy. And the dog like made no noise. I was like, did they just kill a dog off screen? And that was what I forgot about. And then obviously the doctor's killed. But we find out in the next episode that the doggo is safe. So we can talk about that in a minute. But we also get Quill going to church, or a church in this episode.
It's a cult meeting.
Yeah. The cult meeting.
It's a cult.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, this guy's just looking for an answer to his life that he hates, and he's ripe for a cult. The mindset, I mean, it doesn't take anything but some really hard shit. Seeing, just being oppressed in general, it's gonna have an effect on you, and he's looking for an answer, and he liked what he read in the ciphers. And that's all we really know about it. It is a religion, I guess. Almost can't think of the term, but it is a religion, but definitely a cult. They have violent tendencies, as we've seen, but it seems to be on a political level as far as their motivations go, like trying to take out people in power and cause a revolution, I guess. They got to know they don't have enough people, so I don't know. It's an interesting little thing.
Yes. Yeah, it's one of those things where you're just like, we know where it kind of ends, but at the same time, it's just like, it's interesting that we get to see it from a character's perspective, where it's joining like a religion that's kind of like a cult, and how they kind of deal with it. It's quite interesting, especially after being kicked out, quote unquote, of a household. But yeah, it's kind of, from my notes, the last sort of thing we can talk about is the whole Ezra, Imogen, I can never remember how to pronounce his name, but it is
Mr. Agreus.
Yeah, Agreus. And the two other couples come over for kind of tea. That's in a separate scene, but basically proposing the idea of the tea and then having the tea party afterwards. How'd you feel about those kind of things? Spill that tea.
I like the progression of this, and Baptise broadcast will be coming on with us to talk about it soon. I hope. No pressure. There you go. Going ahead and just scheduling you, but she'll be on the podcast for sure. And we were kind of chatting about this. She was wondering why the hell they still kept on this people's storyline when Vignette wasn't involved anymore, and you start to see how it progresses, and it is a slow progression, but you get to know and really respect Agreus. I mean, like, he's one of my favorite characters, and I never thought he would be, especially how it turns out. And actually, just the storyline in general is not one I'm usually into, but this one, the flair they put on it, the acting from both of these people, is pretty damn spot on. And right here, you just see it's hard enough to work your way into society, even if you're just a poor normal human and you come into some money, it's still hard as hell for you to work your way into society. And the fact that Agrias has done this and is so driven, his motivations, like for, you could compare him to some great Targaryen kings or something like that. If you want, you could just compare him to powerful people that have changed the world. He seems like that type of dude. I don't know if it's for the better. It seems like he's did some shitty things to get to the top, but you kind of have to. So, ooh,
Which
yeah, they have a really intriguing storyline. I won't get too far ahead of myself with it though.
I mean, yeah, like a lot of people. I know this is like a severe diversion, but I know like a lot of people didn't like a certain plot line. But sometimes in Game of Thrones, based off a certain character, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, because of what they did. But it's like, well, if you had to do it to secure power, wouldn't you do it at the same time? So, like, yeah, that makes sense. And kind of, now that you kind of bring that up about Agrias, Ezra very much seems like the Viserys type, and it is so funny at the same time because it's just like,
you don't want to wake the dragon. I am the king. Oh, sorry.
but yeah, like Ezra very much seems like kind of a Viserys type of, especially in the last 2 episodes towards Imogen, and it is quite interesting. But you kind of get hints of that, and obviously the first 6 episodes, talking about how expensive it is, because uh, and everything about her life, but at the same time, it's quite. Ezra is very much like the character that we know we won't probably see much of in season 2. But
he may be like a super villain. He's gonna turn into Lex Luthor.
Yeah, he'll pop out of the shadows or something like that, like a crazy person. But and then the scene then transitions to Imogen and everybody having tea, and I think it's the Patter. I can't remember. Never remember.
Robert Patterson.
Yeah, like the. Basically, one of the couples is like, "Why is the help having tea with us? Is this a game?" She's like, "No, like he moved in from across the street. He's like he's a hoity-toity person like us," and they're all just like, "What?" Which, I mean, it's like it shows again the classism and the racism that's involved in the show, and it's very still evident.
Or speciesism. I mean, it's still not clear. I mean, I guess, since Philo's a half-breed, spoiler alert, fairies and people can have babies. It's yet to see if any others are compatible. Like a puck and a human.
Well, the Pikes have like the human bodies, though. So.
I mean, half of the human body. So.
Well, the parts that need to do that, I guess, are humans. So.
Well, I mean, this is definitely something we should pick up on after in a different episode. But yes, it's interesting to wonder how far these species are off from one another, because it seems like man itself is the youngest species on the entire world, and they haven't been in existence as long, or at least in existence as a, what would you call it, like an actual social society for near as long as the fairies, and the others seem just as I got a theory, and I'll throw this out there, that human beings are nothing more than fae that have like mutated to not have any of the extra shit on them. If they're compatible, like
no,
I could just see it working like that. I don't know.
No, yeah, it seems like that, like it was a like evolutionary theories, like how some scientists some scientists believe in evolution over creation or whatever. So it's that sort of thing, maybe potentially is going on. Yeah,
Yeah, like a de-evolution. I don't know. It seems like man is almost all the worst of the world. Like there's good in humans, we see that, but it seems like they are the least pure of heart of what we see. Now we haven't got to meet a lot of other
no,
races that well, so I don't know. It seems like the pucks do have the same problems that humans do as far
yeah,
as power and greed go, but the Fae don't. The fairies don't, and we don't know what the centaurs think, or I don't know what they're calling them in the show. The centaurs in general. Um, I don't know. I think it's just interesting to be able to pontificate on shit like that anyway.
yeah. It could be something that we can probably talk about a bit more next week, especially with the material that happens in those episodes. Um, So we kind of covered most about episode 5 because I know we covered parts of it in the last stream. So episode 6, we get the discovery of the doctor's body. We know that the doggo is safe, and Philo again gets flashbacks to his wings being cut off as a little baby, and Philo is put on the case as the lead detective, and finding out the link between all of the victims that we have so far. Which is quite interesting because it's yet to then sort of be revealed about who is the missing link in the situation, which comes later. So, what did you kind of think about this and how it kind of leads up to this episode with all of the missing links and how they kind of give him the role, knowing kind of what we know about all of the people who have died for or slash because of the Dark Asher.
It all ends up culminating in a singular event that changed history almost. Is what it feels like. It's the tsunami or the monsoon is finally here. The culmination of everything that has ever happened. Everything like fate has come together to bring him this. But we know it's not really that. It's just a mechanism of assholes and greed, jealousy, lust, power, and on the surface it can almost seem magical with how he finds out about it, And the first time we see Aisling, his mother is the first thing we see on Carnival Row. Her sprawled out, her guts splayed, just murdered in the most gruesome fashion. And to go look back at that and think about that and know that that's their mom, it's I think Orlando Bloom did a really great job in this. I'm not
Yes.
like he hasn't been the best actor in every damn thing, but he's good in certain shit, and this is one of the things he's good in. And yeah, I see why he liked this script and he liked this story so much.
Yeah, because he kind of seems like there's always those actors out there that do better in more certain roles than others, like certain styles of roles, and this kind of seems like a good style of role for him compared to like other ones almost, because
Yeah,
it doesn't seem like he'd do very well in like a like he could probably, if he wanted to, would do like a show that's like a modern day detective thing and it might work compared to like some other types of shows. Like this shows like how it works very well, and I can see you, like you said, why he he got invested into this show and became executive producer and stuff in this as well, because it's a good show. It just, if we were part of the writing team, we'd be like, spruce up the first couple of episodes, kind of sprinkle in some more stuff that comes later, because you kind of you can lose people in those first episodes. But yeah, I think it's strong, especially how this episode, and this episode particular, it's one of the best ones I think in this season. It's probably like episode. I think I like episode 8 the best, and then it's this episode. I think in terms of how the storyline goes, like what's going on with everything, how well paced it is. What do you think? Like in
Yeah, I
terms.
can see that. I can see that. I pretty much agree with you on that. I definitely really dug this one. The last episode was good too, for just different reasons. This one, like you said, we get a lot of reveals, but then we keep getting them for like the last 3 episodes, which it's good that they piled on like that, but I think they could have gave a little more suspense and fear, maybe is a better word,
Yeah.
or in the first 4 episodes of what the hell was going on. They did it kind of with the Mardocks or the werewolves, but I felt like that wasn't that effective. Honestly, the most effective thing was his friend getting infected with the wolf's curse, and
Yeah.
but no, it story culminated good. Like that's the only thing I can say bad about this show, and it's not really that bad. It's just a little slow.
No. Yeah.
If it was a week to week show, that may have hurt it, but it's
Yeah.
not.
I can see why they dropped all of the episodes like at once, because you'd lose people like in a week to week kind of thing. Like you'd lose people. um, the kind of second part about this is that the case becomes like there's more growth about this case and how they go, and the other guards try and find out about Philo's investigation at the Pix brothel, which then in some way leads them to Mrs. Portia and that whole situation, which was quite crazy, because Portia basically gets slut shamed by the other person who lives in her household, which is Mr. Bagstock. Basically by saying like, I can hear things in the middle of the night, and I heard you going from his room to your room and stuff like that, and it's just bad all around. And there's the reveal about him being half fae. She kicks him out, and then she reveals it to the guards, and then there's that, obviously, the mission to arrest him, which is quite crazy that you drop a secret like that. I mean, if you're, she's a scorned woman, but at the same time, it's like, you'd think you'd protect that a
Okay,
little bit.
so I'm not condoning her actions, but her gut response is she's sleeping with someone or something that's not human. It's not supposed to happen in her eyes. She seems to have grown, and she has been married. She's a widow too. So it's not like she's out and about trying to become progressive. She's just being a strong, independent woman and making her way. And she just was pissed off. Now, also, when you go back and look of, when she actually told on him, the police had to come to her house, and then she didn't even give it up freely. Old buddy even said that he had to work her to get it out of her, and she just feels hurt and lied to as well. The biggest thing right there is lied to. And this whole time they've been together and shared tender moments, you know, but and put some trust in one another. He even admits he didn't treat her right, but this is a
Trust or
huge,
thrust,
huge secret.
Johnny?
All of the above. All of the above.
Trusted and thrust.
But I
Hashtag.
mean, I can't blame her for the mistake. I would be more mad at her if she didn't realize her faults. But that's for another episode.
Yeah.
And everybody in there. I mean, you can just see that it doesn't matter. Like, no proof except this woman just told them, right? There's no proof. They instantly go, I knew there was something wrong with him. That piece of shit. It's just like, what the fuck, guys? But it's just straight to judgment, especially the commissioner or the constable, the head constable, whatever you want to call it. He seemed to kind of like Philo and be friends with him, but then I guess he felt just as betrayed as Portia. He felt more betrayed than Portia. So maybe he had a crush on Philo. Who knows?
Maybe. Maybe it seems like that way. Yeah, it's hard to like judge her for what happened, but at the same time, it's like we have to move the plot forward. um, like that's kind of my go-to response when something's revealed or gets a secret gets revealed early, and it's just like, well, we got to move the plot along. So that's the sole purpose of that. And yeah, I wonder what it was that got her talking, because sometimes it, like in interrogation type situations, it can take like a long time.
Well, he could have. Also, the fact that he may be the killer. Gotta throw that out there too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like his connection with Aisling. He told her about that because he's an idiot. You just tell her about you being a damn half-fae first. Don't just go, oh, the woman that was murdered was my mommy. What the fuck's wrong with you, Philo? Hopefully he learns from this and it's not like Jon Snow and just tells Vignette McQueen for like fucking 14 seasons. But
no, it'd be like
an asshole.
My fairy queen.
Whatever. I'd be more like my Tourmaline. It's more up my alley right there. But we'll talk about why she draws Oliver John's faces.
Yeah, she does.
But no, I want to ask you.
What do you want to ask me?
Because some people will do that. Some people stay true no matter what, just because their personal business is their personal business. I don't know. Yeah. What'd you think about what Portia did?
I feel like
her reaction.
Oh, because this is kind of coming off of the fact that they kind of sort of have developed like a quote unquote relationship, because I believe in episode 4 they go out to dinner because Philo's like, no one served you dinner or whatever, which is kind of like a sweet thing to say. So she probably thought that this might go somewhere, because she also hints at the fact of like moving rooms, like you don't have to stay in this room if you don't want to, and all of this other stuff, which like indication of like she wants to move a relationship forward. She doesn't want to be just a bed buddies. Like she wants something like more, especially because of the fact that she doesn't have old grandpa Mr. Bagstock living with her anymore. So it's basically like, well, since we're all by ourselves now, like that kind of thing. And then to kind of have that sort of relationship, like that bomb thrown on you in terms of, first, my mother got killed, and yes, she's a fairy, which means that I was a fairy, and then that might, but I don't have wings anymore because they were cut off. Like, that's just a lot to kind of throw onto somebody, whether they're your bed buddy or not. And I kind of am just, when I first watched this, I was just like, whoa, that's harsh, because woman scorn and everything. But at the same time, I don't like what is the word, like I don't like fault her for revealing something like that, because it, especially if there's the whole thing of like there's only a certain amount of murders, and they are all within recently, and all of these other things. So it's like you kind of give up any information that you do know about this person, especially if they're in some way looking for him. So yeah, give up all the information that you can, and that was the big plot of information that she had, which obviously leads to them being arrested after finding out more information about his mother, with the guy who ran the play with the kobolds, and talks about how there was how she stayed in a certain household because she effectively had to run away, and yeah, like that whole thing. It's like, in regards to Portia, I don't mind it. It's just the fact that it was like, because A, you had to move the plot forward, but B, because it effectively changes their relationship, and obviously it moves us to where the end game of this season anyway. And yeah, it was interesting, to say the least, as I ramble. But yeah, the last kind of thing is like the reveal about the mother and the song, which is like stuck in my head. It's like, don't want to sing it because you never know about copyright. But go look it up. The actress who sings that song, they picked a really good voice for that song. Like, it's not like an older voice, but it's not super young. It's like the right, I guess, the right age to kind of sing that song, because I think this is like 20 years or 25 years or whatever. So it's a good one. What did you think about like that whole the conversation about his mother, and then like going to then the household that protected her, so to speak, if you're there?
What, Imogen's household?
Yes.
I don't know. I mean, I guess it's some kind of comfort, and everybody seems to know. What's her name? The maid.
Afisa.
Afisa. Don't help us out with the names or nothing. But she seems to have all the gossip, know everyone, know everything that's going on, and I mean, I guess that's who you want to be. And she seems to be a motherly figure too, as well. She seems to be an influence on Imogen. She didn't even want a puck coming in through Imogen's front door, which is fucking hilarious, in my opinion. She's kind of one of those people who are used to the way things are and has made a place in this world for herself. But also, I feel like she understands, She understood what Vignette did. She understood that, that's not her. She's got her place, but it's not as if she's trying to cast judgment on people. And I don't know, just a good motherly figure, I guess. And that's something that Philo doesn't have, and it makes it even more sad that, as he's getting arrested and walking out the door, tells her she doesn't have to worry about that kid anymore. Here he is, she got to see him. It's really sad, and then as Brooklyn Broadcast says, the song, I'll fly for you. I'll get copyrighted. Yeah. I mean, whatever.
Yeah, like, the song, like, yeah, the whole conversation, because she's like, I wonder where the boy was and what he grew into and who he was, because she stayed at the watchmaker's house, which is quite interesting that he can make that their father made so much money based off of watchmaking, but I think there was more businesses involved, but it started with watchmaking, which is quite interesting. And you obviously learn more secrets about Aisling, Philo, and the father in the next coming episodes. But I think that storyline for these 2 episodes, it ends in like a cool spot because it's like, oh, what's going to happen? Especially with him being arrested. Like,
I don't know. Wait 15 seconds and you'll find out.
yeah. But yeah, I feel like it was a good place for like the show if you were watching it like 2 at a time or whatever, and not like binging the whole thing. Because if he was arrested in the next episode, like it waited another entire episode for him to be arrested, then it'd be too quick, almost. So I feel like they chose the right episode to do that. But other than that, we can talk about Tourmaline, which is seemingly your favorite, and how...
Okay, come on. You gotta love Tourmaline. You gotta love her. I just like her acting, her facial expression. She's like, I don't know, she's warm. It's like she's home, but also there's something there that she is hiding as well. Now she has this vast love for Vignette. I mean, she loves her. We see this, they kind of kiss, and it's like, I'll be home later, honey. And, well, a wrench is going to get thrown into this. Now, Tourmaline has did a lot, but she's also working in a brothel, doing what she's got to do. That's not her normal job, but she's also an artiste. And to get these Johns out of her mind, the only way she can do that is by drawing a portrait of them. And that's really poetic. It's a really interesting way to deal with a job that, wasn't her first choice. No. She doesn't act like she necessarily enjoys it, but she doesn't bitch about it either. That's very admirable as well. Admirable, not admiral. Dumbass. Admirable as well. And
you're just thinking about Adama, that's why.
She has a good heart, but I think she's set up to make a dumbass decision later on. And it just kind of, Vignette gets out of here. She sees that damn... Well, I'll let you talk about Tourmaline before we get into Vignette's museum experience.
Yeah. Yeah, Tourmaline, she's a character that's, like, sweet, but also at the same side can have that feisty side. Like we saw in episode 3, where she's just, like, very angry at Philo about the whole trying to break up with Vignette by basically saying that you died. She's like, what? But yeah, and I don't know if it's considered creepy or if it's like sweet, or creepy and sweet about the whole drawing the pictures after you of your clients. But I mean, I get it, like, cause
maybe she'll be a serial killer and she'll kill all them bastards. She's like a praying mantis.
Like, I know this is kind of off,
Shout-outs.
Slightly off on a tangent, but it's like, I guess when people take pictures of people, like if you're a hairdresser, I guess if you take pictures of your haircut or how you did on your haircut, it and stuff, I think it's fine. It'd be even, I know this is making it much more creepier, but it's like if she wrote like in the corner, it's like when when people sign their names or whatever, it's like she puts either like the day and then like the rating, just like 8 out of 10, 7 out of 10, 4 out of 10. It's like, in terms of, like, even though they wouldn't do that, but that just makes it even stranger. But it'd been funnier, because then she'd be like, it's like looking back at, like, even though folders or notebooks don't really, like, aren't mentioned, it's like, oh, I remember him, he was a 3 out of 10. She, like, flips, it's like, oh, this one, he was a 10 out of 10, like, it's like, that would have just been, like, so stupid, but so funny at the same time.
She's got their address written down, or P.O. Box. Meet me at the old terminal down by the state. I don't even know what I'm saying anymore. Anyways,
we're becoming loopy.
The rating system for Johns, I guess.
Yeah. and then we get a vignette where she goes on her mission, and which is kind of Black Ravenish, but then she ends up at what she calls
She's running the numbers, see?
the dames running the numbers. And then she ends up at the museum, where it's just a bunch of fairy stuff
The
everywhere.
Treasures of Turnanock Museum. And Turnanocks. Where they came from. I can't remember the name of the town following her we're in, but basically that whole, what would you call it? Like a
Cave. It's
chapel,
like a cave
I know
library.
it's a cave, but
it's like a cave library.
I can't think of the proper term. Anyways, I don't know what I was saying. Go ahead.
Oh,
with your cave library.
The where they are, it's like where they were in episode 3 is like a cave library situation, and then she obviously sees all of these books, and that her culture is being used as like a showpiece situation. That's what I was just gonna say to help you.
Don't you help me? I'm tired of it. Don't do it. I mean, she says this breaks her heart. I mean, the picture itself on the front is one that she knows, and I don't know. It's her home that's lost, gone forever. Now she can go see it again, and she does. She gets cozy up in there and cries a little bit. Thinks about days gone by, and well, she ain't having that shit. Okay, like don't be coming up in here. Ain't nobody got time for that. She's gonna get you. And she about stabbed a thought. Don't make me stab a thought.
Yeah, and that kind of leads her to kind of being like arrested and taken out of the museum. And I mean, like it brings up kind of what a lot of the internet and the media kind of talks about is cultural appropriation, and kind of like belittling other cultures for the rise and success of others. Like and yeah, like it's kind of heartbreaking, because for her that was such a sacred place that, if you go back to episode 3, she like kind of talks about, and how all of these books are so important, and for it to now just be taken over by the humans, and to have it be used as a tool of like the fact of like being laughed at and such. It's quite scary, because you're just like, why is my culture being used as entertainment for other people? Like it wasn't something that they were obviously looking to do as well.
So just imagine your laptops on display. Look at what the Sasa in the wild would do. Typing. You have like just little trinkets. Here's the Sasa magic spray. And it's just like some kind of antibacterial spray. Anyway, but yeah, I mean, it would be really odd, because one, the importance they put on certain things probably isn't going to be right, because you can only understand culture so much unless you've lived it. And this is just coming from, I don't know. We see how receptive humans are to fake culture. It doesn't seem that receptive, even during times of war, when, I mean, it seemed like, I guess they were trying to push back the pack over there, but I don't know if they were trying to save the Fae, which it doesn't seem that way. Seems like the Fae were just there, and I guess they were both fighting against the pack. So I don't know. I do want to know a little bit more about that war, like how the Bergish people got into that. But
yeah, maybe that's a season 2 thing, because maybe they go more into those histories. But yeah, it's one of those things that where it's hard because for the Fae, they know like what each thing means, and the humans they could conceptually lie about what this thing is, like the books that they have in the library, but like because it's
This is Fey witch spells, a dark arts. If they
Yeah.
sleep with you, they will cause a pestilence unknown to mankind. Sorry.
the semen golems will come. They collect for the semen golems.
Semen golems everywhere.
Yeah, but yeah, it's like it's that potential, and obviously she doesn't like it, and she gets in trouble for it, which is not very fun. But hey, we come to figure out what happens to her later. But if you want, we can talk about Imogen, Azra, and why can I never remember how to pronounce his name? Astro
Agreus.
Agreus.
Just say Agreus. Mr. Agreus.
Agreus.
Mr. Agreus.
Yeah, we can talk about them if you want. Quickly, because it's not very long. Those kind of two
Yeah, they're
scenes.
just getting at the auction. They buy this erotic satyr piece, and I'll just say shout out to Bravosi Broadcast Horn Lord imagery, and make sure to talk about that more when she comes on. But a really nice painting that he. The guys that were spurning them earlier, that were casting the woman and the couple that was casting their nose up at him, he was able to get back and show power, to show his prowess. You know, thereby paying an exorbitant amount for a painting he didn't really even want.
It's like
300,000 something.
Whatever the currency is in Carnival Row, but like. It shows, that it's just, let me show my power, because you it's like, underestimate me, bitch? Okay, here. And then it's just like, let me just buy out this painting, which is nice. And it, also those scenes between the two with Imogen also begins to develop that relationship, which comes to a head in the next couple of episodes, the last 2 episodes, but if you know why that ain't, and yeah, Ezra in the earlier scene is just bitching to be bitching because he has to take care of everything.
Well, honestly, he doesn't. You could say that he doesn't feel like a man. He lost all his daddy's money. Now his sister's having to basically get it back from him, and also with the help from a puck to top it off. And he can't be feeling too good about himself. His self-confidence is way down. He's got the Napoleon complex, and he's just waiting to explode with that because it's he doesn't have a foothold. He doesn't feel confident. He doesn't feel like a man. I mean, it's about as simple as that. He's not a man. He's a little bitch.
Yeah, he is I've realized that now. I'll just always probably equate to him as being the Viserys of the Carnival Row, because Danny, because the Danny character is Imogen, who is actually supposed to play Daenerys, and I think she was the original pilot's Danny, which is quite funny. But I think that actress went on to do the Tudors instead, which is quite funny. Anyway, but yeah, those 2 scenes were cute, and it progresses that storyline forward. And other than that, I think the last thing we have to talk about is Jonah, the Chancellor, and Sophie.
Well, I mean, come on, Breakfast with Daddy and Prophet. Is this with the prophecy?
Yeah,
Okay.
because he's talking about Sophie, piety, and about how he's supposed to be like the Chancellor. Jonah's supposed to be like the Chancellor.
Yeah, or even a greater man than his
Yeah.
father, because Piety had covered herself in ash and climbed a mountain to talk with the oracle, and she said this and that, and Granny kicked her down the mountain with a baseball bat, and there's nothing she can do about it. No, and I don't know. Prophecy drives people mad. Prophecy is a bitch, as Marlin says from A Song of Ice and Fire. And we kind of see that starting to unfold here. You start to realize why mommy kidnapped her son. And, Jonas, he's trying to take his own path here, and he really does. He does get tutor lessons in the last episode. He gets a new tutor or whatever. We find out that's going to be Runyon at some point. Spoiler alert, but we'll talk about that later. Uh, he, I don't know. He's just gonna make his own path, and now once we find out a little more what happens with his heritage, it's gonna make sense who he's becoming. But with Sophie, he finds out, you know, he's the first one to really find out that it's all just a show. Daddy's dead. You hear that, Father? Everybody's out of the room. She's just talking shit to her daddy's dead corpse, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Good night, Dark Mother. Much
Night.
love.
Thanks, Dark Mother, for stopping by.
But yeah, she just shows her true colors, and he is just utterly, head over heels for her, like love at first sight type of deal with her, and that transpires into interesting events later. So
What is yet to come?
yeah, that's about it for that. There's one more, but we got the perk flogging, public flogging too.
Yeah.
Oh, Quill learning lessons about the cipher and what it means to be a puck in this world. Now, that's what it means if you're gonna hang out with these dudes that walk down the street beating themselves. A drunk dude's just gonna walk up to you and punch you. I mean, that's just, if it was just regular people walking down there, they would punch you because they think you were weird. Anything that's different, people kind of like the masses rebel against. They don't want to accept things that are different because people get set in their ways, especially older people, for the most part, especially in a world like this where you're brought up with a certain set of ideals and it's probably beat into you by your parents, literally, or you're rich and then you just think everybody else is trash. So either way, but I guess he kind of learns a hard lesson. Nobody's helping the dude, but also, would you help that guy who's just beating the shit out of himself? What does it matter if someone else beats him? It's more of you seeing this. Yes, there's a problem with oppression. There's a problem with what's going on, but they're using it as a tool. So there you can see the cultish manipulation.
Yeah. Yeah, because that too, like I said, comes to a breaking point in the last two episodes with that, which is quite interesting to see how that kind of plays out. But going back to Imogen and Jonah not Imogen, Jonah and Sophie for a second. Yeah, that relationship, he's kind of smitten at for like because she's a powerful woman. So I don't know if it's because she kind of reminds him of mom or his mom or not. But if you know, you know.
Hint, hint, hint.
And something like that. Like it's.
Can't believe I just snorted live on air.
But yeah, when they're talking about, because she talks about how she was basically had no friends. She was stuck in a library. The only friends that she had were books, while he probably had all the friends that he could want, and such. It's telling the truth, but it's also guilt tripping at its like almost highest capacity for what kind of comes later again. But yeah, I think interesting that they picked those two actors as well to play those two characters, because you can see that the actress who plays Sophie is obviously holding her cards back, like Littlefinger does, and like what Sansa learns later. But that Jonah's just kind of like an open book who's just like, hey. And it's kind of like the Jon Snow almost, of just like, well, alright, I'll go with it. Whatever you say.
No, I would say he's more like a, I had a good comparison, now I can't think of it. God dang idiot. I don't know, it's, I can't think of it now. I just had a brain fart.
Oh no. Maybe it'll come around to it. If we're off air,
it probably wasn't that important anyway. Honestly, come on. I don't say many important things.
But yeah, I think the flogging of themselves. It's just like, really. It's like, so in this religion, quote unquote, you have to beat yourself up. Excuse me. You have to like beat yourself up to be considered worthy. It's like
what happened to you? I beat my own ass.
Why? And then it's like, why? Because of a religion. And then it's like, oh, that's all I needed to know. Thank you. And then it's like, run.
It's because, never mind. I can't say that. Okay.
Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, they're just taking advantage of the situation to start a movement, right?
Mm-hmm. A movement that, again, is yet to come. But
what the fuck does that mean, Reversive Broadcast?
The hashtag trash can? Trash?
No, do you mind? I hope I ain't saying
do you mind?
Oh, do you mind?
Do you mind? It's all in one word, though. Unless it means something else.
What am I minding? Hold on, I'm so confused.
I don't know.
Okay, I got you. Sorry. It went over my head for a second. I do apologize for the idiocracy. Okay. I get you. It's a complete. Come on. Explain it some more to me.
Explain it in the chat. No, I'm joking.
I am an idiot, so I do deserve it. So keep going.
No, I think we're done now. So, what did you kind of? I know we kind of talked about this already, but I think these two episodes really obviously pick up the pace with this show, and this is the show that I kind of expected. Like, these two episodes really show us
or what we've been waiting for, right?
Yeah, what we've been waiting for. Like, they could have, for all intents and purposes, cut episode 2 out because episode 2 wasn't really anything, and then just moved everything up an episode at least, because like episode 2 kind of was important, but it wasn't really that much. But yeah, like, this is what I was thinking the show was gonna be like. It wasn't just gonna drag out for like effectively 4 episodes and then just like jogging until like the halfway point and then just a full sprint to the end and trying to get where we need to go. But I think these 2 episodes were good.
Shit. Something really quick that we I don't mean to cut you off, so we
go ahead.
Forgot was the witch. What's her name? I'll never remember her name.
Oh, hold on. Let me just remember. It's.
Anyways, this is the episode we find out that Piety was her pupil. So she'd been learning under her, and then the witch sees her own death here. Too, by the Dark Asher. Now, Piety, like, we'll keep you here till it's safe. She's really, really concerned. But we've seen her act actually concerned and not really be giving a shit. So we don't know what's going on here. But we do know that she was she tutored under old girl. for a long time. We'll see a picture later.
Yeah.
But it makes you wonder what her actual heritage is, if she's actually even, is she human?
That's...
The other woman's a fairy. Every other witch I've seen is a fairy too.
No, it's a good question. Maybe we'll find out. Who knows? But yeah, any besides...
Aoife Bravasi?
I guess
That's
so.
the witch's name?
I guess so. I forgot to write it down.
Stop being so smart, okay? I'm tired of feeling inadequate here. Alright? Aoife. I'm hoping that's right. Like Tim Aoife. Like Tim Eve. Tim Aoife.
Shout out to Tim F. or Eve.
Yeah, special shout out to Tim Eve. Got back problems and still works hard and takes care of himself. He's an awesome dude, honestly. Belter Lauda, if you're listening. Yeah. I know you're probably asleep or working, but
yeah, is there anything else that you wanted to mention about this episode? Your kind of feelings about it, besides what actually happened in this episode?
Really good. This is, like I've kind of said before, the culmination of everything we've wanted to see here. I give it a fresh 9 out of 10 on the molefish scale. I think the molefish was, almost fully erect in this episode. I'd have to say, and I can't wait to see. You start to see the more magical side of this place come out. You know, you've seen the physical lore. These creatures just seem physical without much magic to them, but you start to get a little more of that witchcraft, this voodoo, prophecy. What's going on with all this magic, blood magic, semen magic, whatever you want to call it. It is a really dark show, and I think we've been actually desensitized a little bit, because I don't even feel like it's that dark, but I think Game of Thrones did that to us a long time ago. And I don't know, I really just dig this. If you haven't seen Carnival Row, you can go watch Carnival Row.
And you're just here for the lulz and this delightful conversation, just go watch Carnival Row. I agree with you on the rating scale of 9 out of 10 these two episodes, but I'm going to change my funny ending with it being the cute but kidnapped kobolds. That's my 9 out of 10 cute but kidnapped kobolds. Is my rating. Do you have anything going on? Do you have with your channel, or if you're on doing other stuff? What you got going on, Johnny?
Oh, what's going on? Literally, the Chronicles of Fire and Blood is rendering right now. It's 12 hours in. 13 hours into its 20-hour rendering time. I need to get a computer that's not from 1984. We'll figure that out at some point. Look out for some videos on Carnival Row coming out as well. Got the Fandom 3 podcast be coming up. Hopefully Geek Folk 1 will get something going on there for streaming. And then we got the Cylon Johns on Fridays, of course. And just all kinds of stuff coming up that I can't really think of. Watchmen every Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern. Talking about the Watchmen series. I got so much going on, I can't remember half of it.
And that's with Dornish Wench and Fandom Descent.
And then I'll be live on air, and then I'll give myself more work live on air like a dumbass. Like, yeah, I'm going to do this now because I just had this idea in the middle of a stream, and I just want to declare to the world that I'm going to do all this work because I'm a fucking dumbass.
Instead of writing it down and figuring out if it fits into your schedule because you're so busy all the time. But yeah, for me, what's coming up, we might get a Dare debates coming up maybe next weekend, I'm thinking. So after Halloween, which would be kind of fun. We don't have to dress up or anything because that's not really my my thing, I guess. That's the thing on Cylon Johns. We dressed up for Halloween last year. Yeah, we got their debates. We got the final episode, 2 episodes of this next week. And then after that, we'll have to pick a new show, whether you want to suggest it in the comments on Facebook or just tweet a show to me. We can do that, of course. And yeah, we'll do that. Other than that, I have some videos that I'm working on, which will be on Patreon first, and then they'll come to the channel. Speaking of the patrons, we have Bobbi Catalano, Catherine Harding, Katrin C, Nancy T, Dark Mother, and the podcastat.com, that family of podcasts. They have a bunch of different podcasts on Outlander, Stephen King, Game of Thrones / A Song of Ice and Fire, Harry Potter, and then I think in the new year they're starting up a podcast, a literature, like a book related podcast, or just any type of book. And yeah, so go check out them if you haven't. They have so many different podcasts, and they do a lot of good work. And they do deep dives, but on podcasts, like we do here. Other than that, if you're if anybody out there is like it's the song, is there anybody out there? Other than that, yeah, this has been fun so far. And if Erin wants to, most definitely she can come on.
I guilt trip people into saying stuff in the chat. That's pretty awesome.
And next, if she
Wait,
wants,
what were you saying?
I was like, if the timing works out, and if Erin wants to, join us next week, she's more than welcome. And if anybody in the chat also, if there's ever a show that we're talking about that you want to join in the conversation, just let us know. We'll be happy to have you. Episode Club, first and foremost, started off as a way to have conversations about a TV show that we enjoyed watching. So if anybody wants to join us, they can. But yeah, let us know what shows you want us to cover, and within the next couple weeks I'll make sure to prioritize some other than that. I think...
Yeah, so Bravosi Broadcast, aka Fake Aria. Actually, here we go. Bravosi Broadcast, hosted by Fake Aria, because I know that's something that's going on, has agreed to this, so peer pressure. That's all I gotta say.
Okay, well, she's fake. She's the Aria to my Santa, so I'll have her on. Yeah, but yeah, so the people that joined
chickens
us.
Everywhere.
Huh? What'd you say?
I said chickens everywhere.
Oh, jeez. But thank you everybody who joined us in the chat, which is Bravosi Broadcast, aka Fake Aria, some guy named Johnny B. Crazy. I don't know what he's doing in the chat, but he's here. We also had Peter Griffin, Dark Mother, and let's see, I think that's it. Danny McKay as well. Danny was here, and D York. Go check out Geek Folk 1, like Johnny says, because hey, whatever Johnny says, most of the time we do. Like 99% of the time we do. This is why we did Carnival Row, because Johnny's like, do Carnival Row. And I was like,
wait, what? Right. I don't remember these things.
Because I was asking about a show to do, and you're like, why don't you do Carnival Row?
Well, I mean, alright, I'll take that. Whatever.
Yeah. Hashtag. Oh yeah, finger things in the chat. And
yeah, I almost forgot about that one. That's mine. Hashtag finger thing. Hello, finger thing.
Yeah, you can check out this shenanigans and more on Friday, where we're talking on Cylon Johns. And you also get John added into this conversation. Clarissa, Amy True, and Bobbi Catalano will be there. If not, then just go back and watch another one with all of us in it last week, because you want to, and go subscribe to Cylon Johns, because it's a fun time. And even if you haven't watched the show, the much as much banter we get on is quite fun. And plus you might get to see Johnny as a toaster next week. Other than that,
We're saying stuff like that. It's a racial slur.
Other than that, we will see you all guys next week for episode 7, The World to Come, and episode 8, The Glooming. So, bye everyone!